Hi, my name is Ed Knighton. I'm your host today for this episode of OurVentura.com. I'm here with Petrina Sharp, who is an artist, and we'll be talking about art today. Petrina is a visual fine artist and a muralist. Petrina, thank you for coming today.
Hi, Ed. It's good to see you.
Hey, great. So tell us, Petrina, what is art?
That is a loaded question. Art, or at least my definition of art, is basically a quality of communication. And it is a communication, right? It's from the artist to the audience, whoever that may be. And there's something that must come across, or in order to get reality with your audience, there must be some form of communication that goes from the painting to the person, right? Otherwise, there's just nothing that comes across. It's like, yeah, well, what were they trying to do, right? So, to me, it's how do you take an idea and turn it into, or an illusion or some idea that you have in the head and put it into a two-dimensional or sometimes three-dimensional plane and turn it into a piece of art.
Wow.
So that's my definition of art.
That's really cool. It opens up my world. When you say art and it's a communication, would that be inclusive of other mediums of art? I know you mentioned the painting or the sculpture, but other, even film or...
Sure. But see, art is a very broad term, and especially in California, when you say I'm an artist, they go, they want to know what the rest of it is. Are you an actor? Are you a musician? Are you a... Because art is, any of those forms are art. And what's interesting is that they all actually work together. Like, I have a hard time painting without music or listening to a story or something in the background, just because it helps me just relax and just do what I do without thinking about it too much, because you can overthink a project, right? So, but the art is just such a broad spectrum of things, right? And so you have, but even just in visual art, there is math involved, there is science involved, there is, you have chemicals, you're working with chemicals, different kinds of chemicals. You need to know how your different mediums are going to interact together, what kind of surfaces work best, and so it's all these things. It's everything into one, but the end product is some sort of an aesthetic, something that someone can view and understand, or at least go, oh gee, I find something to like, right?
Yes.
So for me, what I like to do personally as an artist is I actually like to interact with other people and take some of their ideas and collaborate and create something that is representative of, maybe I have a client who might not really have any idea how to create what they want on their walls. And they'll, I'll have them show me some little pictures or talk about it, or we keep talking about it until I get an idea of what it is that's in their head that they would like to have created, and then we go from there. My finished product then is something that they can go, yes, that's exactly what I wanted, right? Because otherwise it's just, okay, so I've put my art out there, but it, what really is interesting to me is that something that is just really communicates to someone else and might make them feel better, right? That's part of my purpose for painting, is how can I bring the tone of someone's emotions to a higher level.
That's great. Great. Quite ambitious. And when you help other people to inspire them, tell us, how would you inspire a child for their art to bring them uptone, or for them to express themselves the best?
Well, creativity is inherent in just about anybody, okay? Whether you're an engineer or an artist, I've seen some, or an architect, I've seen some absolutely beautiful buildings, I've seen some beautiful bridges, but there is, so there is a certain amount of art and creativity in everyone, and it's a matter of tapping into that and finding how that person can express themselves in a creative way. What is it that does that for you? Now, in children, it doesn't take much. You put a crayon and a piece of paper in somebody's hands, and they're ready to go. Even if they're just doing circles, it's just allowing them to be, just be who you are, and just do something. And it's helpful with kids, and particularly if you give them some very basics, right? There's some there's some very basics of, okay, here's how you make a line, here's how you make a circle, here's how you, all shapes are, all things are made out of shapes, right? So what is this? Look at what it is that you're trying to create, and then what is that basic shape, and then you can evolve it from there. So that's usually what I do with kids to bring out their creativity.
Do you choose a specific topic with kids, such as nature or sports, or how do you go about finding a subject matter?
Well, with kids, it's what do you like?
Okay.
I mean, and actually that pertains to just about anybody. So what is it that you like, that interests you, and what do you want to communicate? So that's where you go from. If they only like colors and shapes, okay, then create something with color and shapes. Right. If you only like black and white, okay, then create something that's black and white. You only like stick figures, okay, do something in stick figures. I mean, there's I think there's a book that the kids like to read. It's called The Diary of a Wimpy Kid, right? Well, on the front of the cover, it's a stick figure, and yet it's a real popular, and it communicates, and it doesn't. You don't have to be able to draw like an expert or a master in order to communicate something, right? To communicate an idea. I had a friend in high school who was a cartoonist, and he could make me laugh just by drawing 3 little pictures that were about this big. And so it's just a matter of figuring out what it is that you want to do creatively, and then just do it. It's just these days there are so many videos. You can go to YouTube and find about a video on anything.
Sure.
So
sounds like you allow the children to explore their own creativity without enforcing your views. You really find that does that work for you, to just let them explore and create?
I think that's the only way to do it.
Oh, right, right.
I mean, otherwise I actually had trouble in college with a college professor, excuse me, that she had a very specific way of doing things, and she wanted me to learn her way.
Oh, right.
Which worked to a certain point, and then I started questioning myself. And no matter what it is, a person should be able to keep in mind their own view of what it is that they're trying to create. Every person will do something different. Yeah. It's not, it's, even if you're looking at a classroom full of art, every piece will be different because it's from their particular viewpoint. Right. Right. So with kids, you just have to let them go, because I have gotten great ideas for paintings for myself from kids. Just because they are free to think, they are less restricted than adults that have been, shaped and molded into this little square, and you must be this, right? So that's it's being an artist is part of that, is being able to back out and just look at the big picture, look at anything outside, and then go back in and create from there.
I see. Yeah, it sounds like you do a great job with inspiring children. But let's talk a little bit about adults who have some fear in creating. Maybe they've been told that it's not right, that they have to do it, like in your experience, the teacher's way. How do you inspire adults to break free of that and unleash that creativity?
Well, fear will stop anybody cold. It even stops me. There are times that, I have certain projects and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? Yeah. And it's just, it's kind of, sometimes something I do that helps me is that if there is something specific that I want to paint that's in front of me, like a flower or some kind of a landscape, it helps to just sit there and look at what you're looking at, and just look and keep looking and keep looking until you feel comfortable with it. And then as you looking, you will see more and more. You know, like looking at this table. At first, it looks like a brown table, but then you look, and there are colors within the table. And so, being an artist is being able to pick out those specifics, and where an individual artist comes from is that it's always what they see from their viewpoint, right?
Right.
But the key is being able to communicate that viewpoint to an audience, and that's what is, the fun in it. But anybody can do that, right? It's just a matter of just sit back, look, and start there. And then once you've looked, then you can start maybe thinking with it, and then just do something. You can get little pads of paper and so forth at any craft store or art store or so forth and so on. And it's just paper. Draw something, throw it away if you don't like it. Yeah. Or better yet, hang on to it and then see how much you've changed over time. Right? You've started here, and then you've come to over here. So it's that's part of the process, because you never stop learning. Even working as a professional, I'm always coming across new materials, different ways to use those materials. You're using chemicals, you're using whatever, but you're always, how you need to know the basics of how those materials interact, and the only way to do that is to educate yourself.
I see.
So, you can do that by taking an art class. For someone who really, really needs that instruction of a live person in front of them, there are lots of community art classes that people can take. There's, at the college, there's community art, that are held at different schools and so forth and so on. So there's always ways for someone, my whole thing is just do it.
That's
just
great.
Get out there and do
That's
it.
Great. Yeah.
Just explore that.
That's great. Well, you yourself, you've had quite a journey in your career. You started when you were 4 years old, painting and drawing, and you've taken your career all the way to present time. Tell us a little bit about.
Okay, so I started drawing and stuff at 4, but I didn't really. For me, it was kind of like a draw some and then go back and not do that at all anymore.
Oh, I see.
And then take an art class, and I had to drop out of that. And and it wasn't really until college that I actually took a series of art classes and really had the time of my life. It was fun and just being able to explore all that with other students too. But then after that, I actually did not paint for years and years and years. In fact, I did for 12 years. I didn't paint at all, and it was actually a friend that overcame all of my objections and said, just come to my house and bring a brush and bring several brushes and bring a canvas, and you can even borrow my paint. Well, by the time I was done with that painting, I had paid her back for all of her paint and bought my own paint.
Wow.
So it was just the act of just getting started that really was fun. And then it was another 8 years after that where I finally just said, well, that's it. I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to paint.
You made that decision.
And, yeah, it was a definite decision. And and since then I've painted on everything from rocks to ceilings and floors and furniture and not to mention canvas paintings for individual custom art, and it's really made me happy to be able to bring art to others. I mean, there's a certain degree of, oh yeah, I painted that, but it's more for me, it's the enjoyment that other people also get out of it. It's important for me to have people go, oh, look at that, and just really enjoy what it is they're looking at. So,
tell us about one of your more recent or current projects that you've done.
Well, I've actually jumped out of my box recently, which, and what I did was a complete, I would have to say it's an abstract piece, where all I did was I put some oil polyurethane onto a canvas, and then I took acrylic, which is water-based. See, an oil-based, they don't mix, right? The colors don't mix. So I put them added them onto the canvas, and then I took a blow dryer and blew it all around.
Wow, okay.
So what's happened is that I now just have this conglomeration of colors that are just everywhere. And it was fun. It was fun to just kind of let go and do something like that, which is very different from me because I'm more of a realist painter. I like to be able to paint,
that sounds,
really fine details.
Yeah.
So now I've also been thinking about some kind of combination of the two, where I do maybe part of it that is really, really detailed, and then have the edges explode into blobs of color. I don't know.
That sounds like a lot of fun. We're about out of time here,
Okay.
Petrina. I just want to make sure that the viewers here, if you could tell them how they can get in contact with you.
Sure.
How may they do that?
My website for my service aspect, which is the murals and the faux finishes and the custom paintings, is pjmurals.com. And my phone number is 805-290-7393. Okay. And I have another website that's petrinaart.com, which is just one A. It's petrinaart.com. And that's how you can get a hold of me.
Well, great. Petrina, thank you for joining us. My name is Ed Knighton for this segment of OurVentura.com. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, thank you for watching OurVentura.com.